welcome to this podcast. Now, were you once a London taxi driver and you want to get your badge back? Because if so, watch this video and find out what's needed. So today we're here with Brian Said, and Brian, you used to have a badge, and the purpose of this particular podcast is to just talk people through the process of what's happening, because it seems that they're trying to encourage people who used to have badges to get them back, and they've made it supposedly considerably easier, but that considerably easier doesn't seem to be manifesting itself at the moment. It seems to be still a bit of a problem. But you've actually started the process. You've applied, and you had an appearance yet or not?
No, I had an induction. I had an induction 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
And I applied, reapplied probably a year ago.
Yeah.
A year ago now. Went through the whole process. Just basically as a new driver. I was instructed to go through the application like a new driver. Done the process, done my medicals, DBS check and everything else. And yeah, it was a long drawn out.
So it's taken a year to get this far. So they made you apply again for the knowledge, but you don't have to do that now. You don't have to apply to the knowledge.
There's a refresher that you can do. And I think you just apply as per normal, like your normal application and everything else. You advise them that you are a previous driver.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you go through the application process, obviously you do your DBS check and everything else, and then they invite you in for a refresher test. Yeah. But prior to that, you have like an induction to go through the process, and like they tell you what they expect of you.
What did they tell you on that induction?
Basically, it's the process of what they expect. You know, they expect you to be able to call your runs quite comfortably, and it's not going to be like a conventional appearance, but yeah, they expect you to be on the ball with your runs and stuff like that, and your points and stuff like that. You've got to score 42 points out of 70. Right. In order to get your badge back. If you don't, obviously you get another go at it, and then if you fail that one, they then decide whereabouts on the knowledge you are, and then set you back to either 56s, 28s or 21s.
So at the last meeting we had, they were saying that it didn't matter how long ago you gave up your badge, you can get it back, which was interesting, because it seems that anyone who's gave it up, even in 10 years, how long ago was it you gave up yours?
6 years ago.
6, okay, because they were talking about 10 years ago. So if you gave it up 10 years ago, you'd still go through the same process as a refresher. And they kind of gave me the impression, and I'm going to have to double check with them, there is a guidelines that they've sent me, and I'll put the attachment on this video so you can download the guidelines of what they've sent. But I was under the impression that no matter how many appearances you took them at a refresher level and not at the knowledge level, because the knowledge level is far higher.
Yeah, They basically said you'll probably pass, you know, on your first appearance, but everyone's different, you know. Some people forget, and
also it was a working knowledge, wasn't it? They wanted you to sort of convey a working knowledge rather than the knowledge.
So basically they want to know that you're going in the right direction, you know, and not going around the map and everything else, you know. Did explain that to me, that like obviously you don't have to be as fluent as you are when you're doing your appearances. They just want to know that basically when you're doing the knowledge, doing your appearance that day, that you are going in the right direction, and they know that you've got a call over on your map. You've got to refresh your memory, ain't you, really?
So you haven't had an exam yet?
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday's your first exam?
First exam.
Okay, you nervous at all, or?
Yeah, apprehensive, yeah. Because it could go wrong, can't it, you know?
Do you feel, I mean, let me see if I can give you a kind of impression of what they gave me that they're going to ask. They want you to be aware of the changes.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Which means that, to be honest with you, Tottenham Court Road is difficult at the best of times. But the awareness of Tottenham Court Road is only necessary if you're going to something in Tottenham Court Road. Other than that, you're going to be using Gower Street. I don't know if you're aware of that. Brian, tell me about the application process and how it started and how you've got to where you are and how long that's taken.
So to today, it's took about a year in total. I just went through the normal process of applying to go on the knowledge. Obviously, I got in touch with them and said I was a previous driver, and I'd heard that you could do a refresher course. And
were they told you to reapply?
Yeah. They told me to reapply for the knowledge. Basically, go through the whole application process. I spoke to a guy at TFL. He gave me he sent me out the application pack, told me to go straight through the application pack like you would do as a new driver. I'd done that, waited to hear back from them, had a lot of toing and throwing in between, like, you know, with the medical, needed another signature on it, and the driving licence code had expired because it was over the 21 days it was like valid for, so I had to re-email them again with the new code. And yeah, it wasn't.
So they take so long to process your information that the 21-day code will expire.
Yeah, it expired. Yeah, and then like they wasn't satisfied with the photo. I resend them a new photo. So then you're emailing them, telling them that you're sending it over to them, and then you're waiting for an email to return back to you, and then they tell you that it's been uploaded to your account and everything else. So yeah, it's a
long-winded process. So when you so first of all you apply, and then the 21-day thing runs out, and when that runs out, they then tell you actually you need the photograph, which then takes another further set of days for them to, and it seems that there's always another little hurdle.
Absolutely.
So you don't clear every hurdle all at once, and they don't send you the list of problems. It's this problem needs to be solved, and then another problem will occur.
Yeah, it's just a really long-winded process. Like when I went through it and I'd done the application, they come back and said to me that the driving licence code had expired. I had to reapply for the new driving licence code, send that back, and then it had gone on to the next stage of being processed, and they told me that me photo wasn't acceptable, so I had to get them a new photo. Then I had to wait like 7 days for an email to confirm that photo was all right, and then the medical. Went through to the medical stage. That was right. The only thing that went through fine was my DBS check, really.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
They knew straight away you was a bank robber and just sort of like said, let's just accept him on. He's got credentials.
And after the whole application process, they sent me the application pack, welcomed me to the knowledge, and said, like basically go out and do me runs. I've got a year to do me runs and then put in for me appearances.
So they still hadn't figured out that you are not on appearances, you're on a refresher.
Bearing in mind, I'd sent them about 50 emails telling them that I was looking for a refresher. Like,
yeah.
You know?
I mean, who do you blame for this debacle?
There's obviously a problem with the application processing. Definitely. Whether there's something to do, it's definitely internal.
Yeah.
You can't blame the examiners up there. You know, it's not their responsibility, is it? You know?
Yeah.
I've got to be part to blame because I never renewed my badge. But, you know, you think the process would be a lot easier. And the fact that there's no one you can phone, you can't contact.
No, you can't phone anyone.
There's absolutely no number. So basically, you'll send them an email, and the email that you'll get in return will be, "I hope this is to your I hope this is satisfactory." You know, and it'll be like, "No, it isn't actually."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
did you seek any help from the LTDA or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
I spoke to Anthony at the LTDA. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He obviously not being a member.
Yeah.
I asked him, and he said to me, "Like, I'll get in touch with him." And he had a guy call me from the TfL, and they went through the process, and then they noted it on the computer that I was a previous driver, and that I was taking up a refresher course and stuff like that. But yeah, Anthony was like a gem. You know?
And did that sort the problems out, or did it still carry on?
Yeah. Well, it carried on. It carried on, but I didn't feel like I could phone Anthony because obviously I wasn't a member of the LTDA.
Are you a member now?
I will be as soon as I get my badge back, that's for sure. I can guarantee that. But yeah. And then yourself, like, you know, you like the help you gave me yourself, like, you know. So there are people out there that can help you with the process and speed it up a little bit. It's just a shame that there's no numbers.
You can't call anyone. I mean, I did mention to you about another person called Jay who's going through the same thing, and he was told to do the knowledge again. And then he was under the impression that maybe he would be able to do a refresher, and it actually turns out he doesn't need to do any of it because his badge has expired too recently, and all he needs to do is just reapply for his badge. But they keep sending misinformation to people doing this, and there are now there's a small influx actually of people who want to return to the trade and get their badges back. So I'm seeing I'm getting quite a lot of phone calls, to be honest. I mean, from getting 0 phone calls from people who wanted to get their badge back to getting kind of 6 a week is astronomical. So that's what's happening now.
Yeah, I think the process is going to be, it will be a lot easier going forward, but I've done it straight after the pandemic, you know, so people were still working from home, and it was a lot, I think it'll be a lot easier now.
So a year from beginning this process, you're still not, it's still not over, and you have an appearance next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And even then it still might not be over, but you're confident that you're going to be able to do well on that particular appearance. So it might be over in 1 appearance, it might be 2 appearances.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's like your conventional appearance. It's not
not at all
as hard, you know. They're going to ask you, they just want to know that you're going in the right direction, and you know your points and stuff like that. So if you have been out of it for a long while, it's advisable to do your books, call over your books,
Yes.
and do a bit of map work and go see some
Absolutely.
points. Everything changes in London, as you know.
So they've given some guidelines, and what they actually do want is to see that you can use working routes. So you don't need to do anything super technical. They want to see that you're up to speed with anything that's changed in terms of hotels that might have changed names or newer and bigger stuff that's happened, and they want you to be aware of anything like. It's a bit harsh for some of the LTNs, but they want you to be aware of the current road changes that have happened as well, which is probably the most difficult part. But yeah,
I think it'd do you well to go and learn them anyway. Wouldn't it?
yeah. I mean, my basis of learning them, if I've still got my badge, because I've had a few people phone up who want to go back to work who haven't given up their badges, still have their badges, and they want a refresher on the knowledge themselves. And my advice always on that one is do it in real time. Get out there and actually drive the cab and learn as you go. Just to admit that you've not been driving for a while, you didn't know this was closed, you didn't know that was changed, and just work around it and learn fast. Other than that, it is a case of getting out on a bike or something and going actually to drive it all and to have a proper relearn. It may also help to learn the first 80 runs. The one thing about the 320 Blue Book runs that was clever is that each Blue Book goes to every single postcode once. So if they did just the first 80 runs, they would be visiting every postcode in London once, and it would give you a little bit of a refresher on that.
Yeah, to be fair, when you start calling over your runs again and you start doing your points and you get back on the map, it all comes back to you, you know.
Yeah.
But you have got to put the effort in, haven't you?
Yes, you have.
But yeah, the process is a long process. It was for me. Whether it's going to be easier in the future going forward, I hope it is for people.
Are you going to rent a cab or are you going to buy one?
Well, I owned before. I'm going to rent for a couple of weeks and then
see how you go.
look to go.
Yeah,
Not too sure about these new electric ones though. But
well, they are lovely. I'm a big fan of them, but also I am fairly frugal. I'd say that when I don't own a cab now, but I always owned my cabs, and I always used to try to buy one for somewhere between 10 and 20,000. I mean, 20,000 when I was driving was brand new, but 10,000 was a nice cab. It didn't have the lifespan. You didn't have no problems. You could have it forever. So now you've got a 12-year to 15-year, and you have to scrap the cab, even if it's electric, which is obscene.
even electric.
Yeah. Well, I hope you do well on Wednesday.
Thank you.
And I hope you get your license back and you're back out there. Otherwise, I think you do get another appearance.
You do. You get a couple of tries on it, and then obviously if you're really bad, they're going to put you back.
Yes, you'd have to be really bad. If they must think you don't have a working knowledge at
You
all.
wouldn't want to go back on appearances, would you? Really? But
I don't think it's very. I have known people that have done the knowledge twice, completely twice.
Really?
Yeah, they lost their badge or gave up their badges, left it too long, and then started the knowledge again. And it does seem only recently where the criteria is changing a little. And at this meeting we had the other week, it seemed to be slightly different to me that you can get your badge back. If you want it back, you just need to go for this refresher test. And if you've got a working knowledge, you could get it back quite quickly. You don't have to do the knowledge again. You'll only have to do the knowledge again if you show incompetence really for the whole thing. But for most of us, yeah, we could call a few Blue Book runs, sit at the map a little bit, drive around, have a look at some latest hotels and stuff. You should be able to refresh yourself quite quickly. That would be the hope. And there will be a few people watching this who are obviously want to get their badges back and are thinking about it and are worried. If you're thinking about getting your badge back, this is what you do. You apply to TfL, you go on a refresher. You don't have to do the knowledge again. And it doesn't matter how long ago you gave up your badge. You can still do this refresher aspect, and you just need to show a working knowledge. You don't need to call fluently. You don't need to call word for word. You just need to describe how you'd get from A to B and show an awareness of the current road layouts and the current latest hotels, and then you'll get your badge back.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yep.
Basically, yeah.
So good luck next week. Thank you for coming along, Brian, and I hope it all works out.
Brian has now taken his refresher appearance. He was successful after just one test. His badge will now be returned and he can now return to work as a licensed London taxi driver.
Firstly, if your license expired less than 2 years ago, then all you need to do is reapply. You can just get your badge back straight away. There is no problem at all. So don't let it expire for longer than 2 years. That seems to be the first piece of advice you need to give someone. So if it hasn't expired longer than 2 years, just apply. It's going to be given straight back to you. You can start work straight away. Now, if it's longer than 2 years, then you need to undergo a refresher test. Now, this refresher test kind of has 3 chances, and the scenarios get progressively worse if you fail. So on the first chance, you can get your badge back if you can show that you still have a fairly decent working knowledge and an awareness of, and this is the important part, an awareness of the current situation as the roads stand. So if you've been away for a while, you're not going to fully understand Bank Junction, Bishopsgate, Tottenham Court Road, maybe even Gloucester Place and Baker Street. It depends how far back you go, but a lot has changed over the years, and you need to show that you have a current awareness of that. So that's the main thing that you're trying to achieve and express. You also are going to need to be aware of the latest and most popular points of interest, such as any new hotels or anything that's rather large or new. So you're going to have to do some research to get yourself up to the standard to make sure you're ready. So don't be complacent. Try to achieve this standard so that you can get your badge back on the very first appearance. If you don't get it back on the first appearance, you do get another chance, and depending on what you score on that other chance, you will then be given a further chance or put back 2 appearances. And on appearances, you will be put back to 3 different levels depending on how bad you may be. You can be put back to 56s, 28s or 21s, all dependent on how bad or well you perform. But my suggestion is that you go for it to get your badge back within the 3 refresher appearances that you're going to have, and even get it back on the first one. So you need to develop some degree of fluency, which means that you probably should learn some Blue Book runs to get your fluency going so you have the language back. And you definitely need to get uptown and check out the way that the roads are for the current changes that have gone on. Next, it doesn't really matter how long ago you lost your badge at all. Show some current awareness of the situation as it is, and you will get your badge back even if you lost or left your badge behind 20 or 30 years ago. If you were once a licensed London taxi driver, you can get it back just by taking these 1, 2 or 3 refresher tests. In the retest, you are just expected to show an adequate knowledge. It is not doing the knowledge again. So when you apply, you're going to be asked to go for an informal meeting with an examiner, and the examiner there is going to explain to you what they expect, and they are going to then let you go away and decide how long you need before you come back to have an appearance. This is also a very good opportunity to ask questions. So if you have any questions to ask, prepare them beforehand so you can ask them there and then. So you're going away from this meeting very clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve. So what does the test entail? It's going to be this. You're going to get 6 point-to-point questions. You're also going to be asked 10 points of interest separate to that. And you have a possibility of scoring 70 points on those questions. So you're going to get 10 possible points for each question of point-to-point, giving you 60, and a further 10 for the 10 possible points that you should know, giving you 70. So the first retest, you need to score between 42 and 70. And if you do, you have passed. You have successfully achieved regaining your badge. But if you don't and you fall below 42, then several scenarios start to occur. Now, if you score above 28 but below 42, then you will be given another chance to take that refresher test. So go away, come back and take the test again. But however, on the second appearance, if you score between 18 and 27, you will then be asked to return to 21s. So you'll be on 21-day appearances, and effectively you're on the knowledge, and effectively you would be expected to meet knowledge standards, which are very different to what you're being asked to do as a refresher test, which is that you are supposed to be doing working routes and a working knowledge. So avoiding this stage is what you want to try your utmost to do. You want to get your badge back without reaching this being put back onto 56, 28 or 21-day standards of the knowledge. If you score between 10 and 17, you'll go back to 28s. And if you score between 0 and 10, you will be going back to 56s. So do your utmost. Work hard for a few months and get some fluency, get some awareness of the current road situations, get a little bit of knowledge back. It's not as difficult as you may think to get that knowledge back up. As soon as you've done that, you can get back out there and start driving a cab again. So with all that said, you have 2 years to be ready to attend these first 3 appearances that you're going to have. So it's plenty of time, but you should be able to do it within a few months. But if you don't manage to take this test within the 2-year period, you are going to need to reapply again. And if you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell and leave any comments below. And hopefully this video will help you
make your decision about whether you want to return to this trade, and give you some information to make you a little bit more informed and how easier it has become, because it has become easier than it was previously.